In the heart of the Pacific Northwest, where ancient Douglas firs stretch toward starlit skies, and the air carries the perpetual scent of moss and cedar, there stood a fire lookout tower that had watched over the Cascade wilderness for nearly a century. The tower rose 200 feet above the forest floor, its small cabin perched like a bird's nest among the swaying crowns of the tallest trees, connected to the world below only by a spiral staircase that wound around its steel frame like a DNA helix reaching toward heaven. It was here that Luna Reyes had taken her first job as a fire lookout, drawn by the promise of solitude and the chance to spend her nights surrounded by the living symphony of the forest. She was 24, fresh from a forestry degree that had filled her head with scientific knowledge about ecosystems and fire behavior, but had taught her nothing about the deeper mysteries that revealed themselves only to those who spent long hours alone among the trees. The lookout service had evolved considerably since the days when rangers communicated only by radio and telephone. Now, Luna had a sophisticated computer system that connected her to dispatch centers, weather stations, and other lookouts across the region. But the essence of the job remained unchanged: to watch, to listen, and to serve as the bridge between the wilderness and the world of human concerns that lay beyond the forest's edge. Her first night on duty began like any other, with the gradual transition from the golden light of sunset to the silver mysteries of darkness. The forest around her tower was alive with the sounds that city dwellers never hear: the soft hoot of great horned owls calling to their mates, the rustle of deer moving through undergrowth, the distant crack of a falling branch in some far grove, and underneath it all, the almost inaudible whisper of wind through countless thousands of pine needles. Luna had set up her workstation with methodical precision. Multiple monitors displayed weather data, satellite imagery, and communication interfaces. Her radio crackled periodically with check-ins from other lookouts scattered across the mountain range, each voice a reminder that she was part of a network of watchers who kept vigil over this vast expanse of wilderness. The computer beside her main console was programmed to receive and process reports from hikers, campers, and other forest visitors who might encounter situations requiring assistance. Most would be minor incidents: lost hikers needing directions, campers with equipment failures, or the occasional medical emergency in one of the more remote camping areas. But, as Luna was about to discover, some calls defied easy categorization. The first alert came through just after midnight, when the forest had settled into its deepest rhythms, and the only light for miles came from her tower and the star-scattered sky above. The computer chimed softly, indicating an incoming report through the Forest Service's new digital reporting system that allowed visitors to submit detailed incident reports via their smartphones, even in areas with minimal cell coverage. Luna opened the file, expecting to find a routine request for trail information, or perhaps a report of a damaged bridge or blocked path. Instead, she found something that made her pause and read twice to make sure she understood correctly. Urgent. Strange lights moving through the old growth section near Whispering Creek. Not human-made. Request immediate investigation. Submitted by A. Chen, Campsite 47. Luna frowned at her screen. Strange lights could be anything. Other campers with flashlights, the reflection of her own tower beacon off low-hanging clouds, even the aurora borealis if atmospheric conditions were right. But something about the terseness of the report, its complete lack of the usual hiking jargon and casual tone that characterized most visitor communications, gave her pause. She opened her radio channel to contact other lookouts in the area. Cascade Base, this is Luna at Pine Ridge Tower. Anyone else seeing unusual activity near the Whispering Creek drainage tonight? The response came from Marcus, an experienced ranger stationed 15 miles to the south. Pine Ridge, this is Timber Point. All quiet down here. What kind of activity are you tracking? Got a visitor report of unusual lights. Probably nothing, but wanted to check if anyone else had eyes on that area. Copy that. I'll keep watch on my southeast quadrant. Let me know if you need backup for an investigation. Luna made a note in her log and settled back to monitor her screens. But the mysterious report had stirred something in her, a curiosity that her scientific training couldn't quite suppress. She found herself turning her binoculars toward the direction of Whispering Creek more frequently than usual, scanning the canopy for any sign of the lights that A. Chen had reported. It was nearly an hour later when the second report came through, and this one made Luna sit up straight in her chair. Urgent. The lights are following me. They seem to respond to movement. I'm heading back to the main trail, but they're keeping pace about 50 yards to my left. This is not normal wildlife behavior. A. Chen, mobile report. Now, Luna was genuinely concerned. She immediately opened her emergency communication protocol and radioed the main dispatch center. Cascade Base, this is Pine Ridge Tower. I have a hiker in potential distress near Whispering Creek. Requesting permission to initiate tracking and possible rescue coordination. The dispatcher's voice was calm and professional. Pine Ridge, copy your request. Can you provide more details about the nature of the distress? Luna hesitated. How could she explain that someone was reporting being followed by mysterious lights without sounding like she was taking a prank call too seriously? Hiker reports unusual animal behavior and feels unsafe. Requesting location tracking if subject has GPS enabled on their device. Copy that, Pine Ridge. We're pulling GPS data now. Stand by. While she waited for the location information, Luna found herself thinking about the name A. Chen. Something about it nagged at her, as if she should recognize it from somewhere. She pulled up the Forest Service's visitor registration database and searched for recent entries under that name. What she found surprised her. Dr. Alexander Chen was listed as a research botanist from the University of Washington, currently conducting a multi-week study of old-growth ecosystem dynamics in the Cascade Wilderness. His credentials were impressive, and his research proposal, which Luna skimmed quickly, focused on documenting nocturnal plant behaviors and fungal networks that were only active during specific lunar phases. This was not some amateur hiker prone to panic or misidentification. This was a scientist with extensive field experience who was specifically studying nighttime forest phenomena. If Dr. Chen was reporting unusual lights, it was worth taking seriously. The radio crackled to life. Pine Ridge. We have GPS coordinates for your subject. Transmitting to your console now. Luna's screen displayed a map showing Dr. Chen's location as a slowly moving dot about 2 miles northeast of her tower, following what appeared to be an established but rarely used trail that connected several remote research sites. She could see from the topographic data that he was in one of the oldest sections of the forest, where some trees were over 800 years old, and the canopy was so dense that even daytime hiking required artificial light. "I can see him on GPS," Luna reported. "He's moving steadily along the North Research Trail. Should I attempt radio contact?" "Negative on radio contact for now. Let's monitor his movement and see if he makes it back to the main trail system. If his GPS stops moving, or if he sends another distress report, we'll escalate." Luna settled in to watch the slowly moving dot on her screen, but she couldn't shake her growing unease. Something about this situation felt different from the usual lost hiker scenarios she had trained for. Dr. Chen was clearly experienced and well-equipped, yet he seemed genuinely disturbed by whatever he was encountering in the forest. The third report came through 20 minutes later, and this time, Luna could hear the fear behind the clinical language. "The lights have multiplied. Count at least 12 distinct sources now, arranged in what appears to be a deliberate pattern. They pulse in sequence, almost like communication. I'm maintaining distance, but they seem aware of my presence. My camera equipment is malfunctioning. All photos appear overexposed despite darkness. Request immediate assistance. A. Chen, mobile report." This time, Luna didn't hesitate. She grabbed her emergency radio and called for backup. "Cascade Base, this is Pine Ridge requesting immediate ranger response to GPS coordinates I'm transmitting now. Subject reports multiple unknown light sources exhibiting organized behavior. This is beyond normal wildlife activity." While she waited for response teams to be deployed, Luna made a decision that probably violated several safety protocols. She opened a direct communication channel through the Forest Service app and sent a message to Dr. Chen's device. "Dr. Chen, this is Luna Reyes at Pine Ridge Fire Tower. I'm monitoring your location and coordinating assistance. Can you provide more detailed description of what you're observing? I may be able to offer guidance based on local knowledge." The response came back almost immediately. "Ms. Reyes, thank you for contact. The lights appear to be emerging from the forest floor in a circular pattern approximately 100 meters diameter. They rise to about head height and move in synchronized patterns. No heat signature visible on my thermal camera. They seem to be some form of bioluminescence, but unlike anything in the literature." Luna felt a chill run down her spine that had nothing to do with the cool night air at her altitude. She had heard stories, legends really, from old-timer rangers about phenomena in the deep forest that couldn't be easily explained. Lights that danced between the trees on certain nights. Sounds that seemed to come from the earth itself, and places where the forest felt more alive and aware than nature should allow. "Dr. Chen," she typed back, "are you in any immediate danger? Can you move away from the area?" Attempting to withdraw now, The lights are not approaching me directly, but they seem to be forming a perimeter. It's as if they're herding me in a specific direction. Luna's blood ran cold. She grabbed her binoculars and swept the forest canopy in the direction of Dr. Chen's GPS coordinates. At first, she saw nothing unusual, just the familiar silhouettes of treetops against the star-filled sky. But then, in a small clearing about 2 miles distant, she caught a glimpse of something that made her heart race. Lights. Soft, pulsing lights that seemed to move with purpose through the forest canopy. She radioed dispatch immediately. Cascade Base, I have visual confirmation of unusual light activity in the area of our distressed subject. Recommend immediate deployment of search and rescue teams. Copy that, Pine Ridge. Teams are en route. ETA 45 minutes. Continue monitoring and maintain communication with subject if possible. For the next 30 minutes, Luna tracked Dr. Chen's progress through the forest while maintaining a running dialogue through the app. His reports became increasingly detailed and increasingly disturbing. The lights were not just random phenomena. They seemed to be exhibiting complex, coordinated behavior that suggested some form of intelligence. They're forming geometric patterns now, he reported. Triangles, then hexagons, now something like a spiral. The pattern changes every few minutes. My EMF detector is going crazy. Readings are off the charts. Luna found herself drawn deeper into the mystery despite her growing concern for Dr. Chen's safety. As someone who had always been fascinated by the unexplained aspects of forest ecology, she couldn't help but be intrigued by his scientific observations of phenomena that seemed to exist at the intersection of natural and supernatural. Can you determine what's generating the lights? She asked. Negative. They appear to originate from the forest floor but show no heat signature and emit no sound. They're approximately 2 meters above ground level and roughly spherical. The intensity varies rhythmically, almost like breathing. It was then that Luna remembered something from her forestry studies, a paper she had read about fungal networks and bioluminescence. Certain species of fungi could produce light under specific conditions, and recent research had suggested that the underground networks connecting forest ecosystems were far more complex and potentially intelligent than previously understood. Dr. Chen, she typed quickly. You mentioned your research focuses on fungal networks. Could this be related to your study area? There was a long pause before his response came back. That's actually a possibility I hadn't considered. The timing correlates with peak spore release cycles for several local species, but the coordination level is beyond anything documented in the literature. Are you still feeling threatened? The immediate sense of danger is lessening. They're not advancing on my position anymore. In fact, they seem to be creating a clear path back toward the main trail. It's almost as if what? As if they're guiding me. Not trapping me, but showing me the way out. Luna felt her understanding of the situation shift dramatically. What had seemed like a potential emergency was beginning to look more like an extraordinary scientific observation. Dr. Chen wasn't in danger. He was witnessing something remarkable. Over the next hour, she continued to monitor his progress as he followed the path illuminated by the mysterious lights. His reports became less fearful and more clinical as his scientific curiosity overcame his initial alarm. He documented light patterns, movement sequences, and environmental conditions with the thoroughness of a researcher who knew he was observing something unprecedented. "The lights are fading now," he eventually reported. "I'm back on the main trail system. Whatever phenomenon I witnessed appears to be concluding. Are you safe? Do you still need assistance?" "I'm safe, but I need to return to that site tomorrow night with proper equipment." "Ms. Reyes, what I witnessed tonight could represent a completely unknown form of forest communication. The implications for our understanding of ecosystem intelligence are staggering." Luna smiled for the first time since the reports had begun. "Dr. Chen, I think you should know that I have a degree in forest ecology myself. I'd be very interested in hearing more about your research. Would you be willing to accompany me tomorrow night? I could use someone with local knowledge and official Forest Service credentials." Luna looked around her tower, at the banks of monitoring equipment and communication systems that usually constituted her entire work environment. The idea of venturing into the forest to investigate genuine scientific mysteries was more appealing than she cared to admit. "I think that could be arranged," she replied. When the search and rescue teams finally arrived at Dr. Chen's location, they found him setting up additional monitoring equipment and taking detailed notes on the site where the lights had appeared. His calm professionalism and obvious scientific expertise quickly convinced them that whatever had occurred, it was not a standard emergency situation. Luna spent the rest of her shift filing reports and coordinating with various agencies to ensure that Dr. Chen's research would not be interrupted by unnecessary bureaucratic concerns. By the time dawn broke over the forest, she had arranged for him to have extended access to the research sites and had volunteered to serve as his official Forest Service liaison. 3 nights later, Luna descended from her tower for the first time since beginning her assignment and met Dr. Chen at the trailhead leading to Whispering Creek. He was exactly what she had expected. A serious, thoughtful scientist in his early 30s, with the kind of intense focus that came from someone genuinely passionate about their work. But he was also warmer and more personable than his clinical reports had suggested. "I brought extra equipment," he said, gesturing to a collection of sophisticated monitoring devices. EMF sensors, full-spectrum cameras, audio recording equipment, and atmospheric analyzers. If the phenomena repeat tonight, we'll be ready to document everything. They hiked through the darkness using only red-filtered flashlights to preserve their night vision, following trails that Luna knew by heart but which took on an entirely different character in the context of seeking out mysterious lights. The forest around them was alive with its usual nocturnal sounds: owl calls, the rustle of small animals, the whisper of wind through branches. But Luna found herself listening more carefully than ever before, alert for anything unusual. When they reached the area where Dr. Chen had encountered the lights, They set up their equipment in a small clearing and settled in to wait. For the first hour, nothing happened. They talked quietly about their respective backgrounds, their shared love of forest ecology, and the implications of what Dr. Chen believed he had witnessed. The coordination was too complex for simple chemical signaling, he explained. Whatever intelligence was behind those patterns, it was sophisticated enough to recognize my presence and respond appropriately. You really think the forest was communicating with you? I think something in the forest was. Whether it was a fungal network, some unknown form of bioluminescent organism, or something else entirely, I can't say. But the behavior was definitely purposeful. They fell into comfortable silence, both scanning the darkness around them with various instruments. Luna found herself enjoying Dr. Chen's company more than she had expected. His scientific rigor was balanced by a genuine sense of wonder at the mysteries they were investigating. And she appreciated working with someone who shared her fascination with the unexplained aspects of natural systems. It was nearly midnight when the lights began to appear. They started as faint glows in the forest floor, barely visible even with their night-adapted vision. But gradually they intensified, rising from the ground like luminous bubbles until they hovered at head height throughout the clearing. Luna counted at least 20 distinct sources, each pulsing with a soft, blue-white radiance that seemed to come from within rather than being reflected from any external source. "Are you getting this?" Dr. Chen whispered, adjusting his cameras. "Every sensor is active," Luna replied, watching the readouts on their various instruments. EMF levels are spiking, but no heat signatures at all. The lights began to move, not randomly, but in clear patterns that shifted and evolved like a slow-motion dance. They formed spirals, then geometric shapes, then flowing curves that reminded Luna of mathematical equations made visible. The beauty of it was mesmerizing, and she found herself forgetting to check the instruments as she simply watched the display. "They're responding to us," Dr. Chen said quietly. "Look, when I move left, the pattern shifts to accommodate the movement." He was right. As they moved around the clearing, the lights adjusted their formations to maintain clear sight lines and optimal viewing angles, as if they were consciously performing for an audience. There was an intelligence behind the display that was undeniable, even if its nature remained mysterious. For over an hour, they documented the phenomenon while it continued to evolve and change around them. The lights never approached them directly, never seemed threatening, but maintained a constant, gentle presence that felt more like welcome than warning. Luna began to understand what Dr. Chen had meant about feeling guided rather than menaced. As dawn approached, the lights gradually faded, sinking back into the forest floor like stars returning to Earth. The clearing became ordinary again, just another patch of forest floor covered with moss and fallen leaves. But the memory of what they had witnessed lingered, and Luna knew that her understanding of the forest she had thought she knew so well had been fundamentally changed. "Well," Dr. Chen said, beginning to pack up his equipment, "I think we can safely say that was not a routine night of data collection. Luna laughed, surprised by how exhilarated she felt. I think I need to revise my ideas about what constitutes normal forest behavior. Would you be interested in continuing this research? I could use a partner who knows the local terrain and has official access to restricted areas. Luna looked around the clearing where they had just witnessed something that science had no adequate explanation for. Then up at her tower, rising above the canopy in the distance. The idea of spending her nights investigating forest mysteries instead of simply monitoring for emergencies was incredibly appealing. I think, she said, that could be exactly what I'm looking for. Over the following weeks, Luna and Dr. Chen continued their nocturnal investigations, documenting phenomena that challenged conventional understanding of forest ecosystems while developing both a professional partnership and a personal connection that neither had expected to find in the depths of the wilderness. Their research eventually led to groundbreaking papers on fungal intelligence and ecosystem communication. But more importantly, it led them to a deeper appreciation for the mysteries that still existed in the natural world, and the rewards that came from exploring them together. Years later, when Luna had become the head ranger for the entire forest district and Dr. Chen had established a research station permanently in the area, they would often return to that clearing near Whispering Creek. Sometimes they brought students or fellow researchers to witness the phenomena that had brought them together. But sometimes they came alone, to sit in the darkness and remember the night when the forest had revealed its secrets to two curious humans who had been brave enough to look beyond the boundaries of conventional understanding. The lights still appeared on certain nights, still danced their mysterious patterns among the trees, still reminded them that the world contained more wonder than any scientific theory could fully encompass. And Luna, now watching over her forest from a cabin rather than a tower, continued to serve as the bridge between the wilderness and the human world, helping others discover that some of the most important truths could only be found by those willing to venture into the unknown and listen carefully to what the forest had to teach.